In a world where power is traded like currency and loyalty shatters under pressure, one corporation becomes the battlefield for a silent war no one is prepared to face. Behind polished boardrooms and forced smiles, hidden alliances twist the truth while betrayals unfold in the shadows. When a single discovery threatens to expose everything, the players are forced to make their most dangerous moves, risking careers, reputations, and lives. Every decision ignites new chaos, every revelation rewrites the rules, and every character edges closer to a truth that could destroy them all. This is a high-stakes game where only the boldest survive. In a move that stunned employees across the corporate tower this morning, senior analyst Arden Pratama was abruptly terminated and escorted out of the premises by security. Witnesses described the scene as cold, humiliating, and unusually aggressive for a long-time employee with a spotless public record. Arden, who had served the company for nearly a decade, was given only minutes to vacate his desk. Sources inside the company report that several executives were seen observing the incident from the mezzanine level, allegedly exchanging satisfied expressions as Arden was led through the main lobby. Their presence raised questions about whether the termination was routine or driven by internal politics. One employee, requesting anonymity, stated, "It felt staged. Like they wanted everyone to see it." Human resources officials, when approached, offered minimal explanation. A short written statement cited performance concerns and internal restructuring, but insiders claim HR's expressions told a different story. "They looked nervous, like they were covering something up," said a staff member who witnessed the handover of documents to Arden moments before security intervened. Rumors spread throughout the office almost instantly. Some whispered that Arden had uncovered something he wasn't supposed to see. Others suspected he had become a target of envy due to his rising influence on several key projects. Within an hour, the company's internal chat channels lit up with speculation, screenshots, and heated discussions. Many questioning how someone so dedicated could be dismissed in such an extreme fashion. External observers have raised concerns about the company's handling of the situation, calling it unprofessionally theatrical. Labor analysts note that the dramatic escorting of an employee is typically reserved for cases involving misconduct, yet no evidence of wrongdoing has been publicly presented. Either they're hiding something, or they wanted him gone fast, said a workplace behavior expert. As for Arden, those close to him describe a calm, unreadable expression as he left the building. An expression that contradicted the chaos surrounding him. Beneath that calmness, however, witnesses sensed something else. A quiet fire, a restrained fury that hinted this incident was not the end of Arden's story, but the beginning of a calculated response. What happened today may have been a dismissal, but for Arden, it marked the first move in a much larger battle. The fallout from Arden Pratama's humiliating dismissal has escalated sharply, with employees questioning whether the shocking scene in the lobby was part of a much larger scheme. What many initially believed was a sudden decision now appears to be the result of a carefully orchestrated internal move. Leaked internal emails hint that Arden's performance evaluations were altered in the weeks leading up to his termination. Reports that once praised his leadership and innovation mysteriously vanished, replaced by vague accusations and negative notes that colleagues claim they had never seen before. Someone had rewritten his story. Members of the IT department, speaking anonymously, revealed they detected unusual activity on the HR server days prior to the firing. Several files connected to Arden's projects were accessed, edited, and deleted outside of authorized hours. One technician described it as a silent cleanup, suggesting that someone wanted Arden's accomplishments erased before anyone could notice. In break rooms and private chats, employees have begun piecing together clues. Many recall the rising tension between Arden and certain high-ranking executives who saw his integrity as a threat. He wasn't the type to look away when something was wrong, and that alone made him dangerous in a company built on politics and hidden agendas. Suspicion deepened when staff learned that a major project originally assigned to Arden was abruptly transferred to another team just days before his dismissal. That project, rumored to expose financial discrepancies, now seems tied to the motive behind removing him. Colleagues now wonder whether Arden was pushed out to stop him from uncovering something that could have shaken the corporate hierarchy. Sources close to Arden claim he had sensed something unusual long before the firing. He noticed inconsistencies in internal memos, sudden changes in reporting lines, and unexplained delays in critical approvals. Still, he never imagined the situation would escalate into a calculated takedown executed in front of the entire office. Industry analysts observing the event have begun weighing in, noting that the company's actions match patterns often seen in corporate cover-ups. The public narrative of performance issues is now viewed with growing skepticism, especially as more information surfaces that contradicts HR's official statement. Former employees who left under mysterious circumstances have also started reaching out, sharing experiences of being sidelined or pressured when they got too close to sensitive information. Arden's case has become the catalyst for old stories resurfacing, painting a grim picture of a company where truth is negotiable and loyalty is disposable. The company has remained unusually silent amid the rising controversy. Executives have declined interviews, and HR has refused to release additional details. Their silence has only fueled speculation that the firing was not just unjust, but intentionally executed to send a message. Meanwhile, those who witnessed Arden being escorted out still recall the unwavering calm in his eyes. It was not the look of a defeated man, they say, but of someone quietly absorbing every detail. What happened to him may have been a corporate ambush, but the fire now burning in the company's hallways suggests that Arden's story is far from over. The corporate atmosphere grew heavier overnight as new evidence began to surface, deepening suspicions that Arden Pratama's termination was part of a larger internal conspiracy. Employees who once dismissed the rumors are now whispering openly, convinced that someone at the top orchestrated a meticulous and calculated purge. Sources inside the IT forensics team reported that fragments of Arden's deleted performance data were recovered from a secured backup server, data that contradicts HR's claim of declining performance. These fragments paint a picture of an employee who consistently exceeded expectations, delivered high-value results, and received praise from high-profile clients. What startled investigators most was the discovery of unauthorized logins leading directly to Arden's personnel files. Access trails suggest these logins were executed using an executive-level clearance badge, one far above HR's rank. The timing of these accesses coincides exactly with the sudden shifts in Arden's records, pointing to tampering from someone with significant power and motive. The revelations have set off a chain reaction inside the company. Department heads are reportedly holding private meetings behind closed doors, attempting to understand how deeply this manipulation runs. Some directors were seen leaving the executive floor pale-faced, as though they heard something that shook their confidence in the corporation's leadership. Employees closest to Arden have begun reviewing their own documents, searching for signs of similar alterations. Several claim to have discovered discrepancies, missing commendations, rewritten reports, and suspicious timestamps. What began as a single questionable firing is now spiraling into what some call a structural integrity crisis. A whistleblower from the finance division stepped forward late in the evening, claiming that Arden had been investigating irregularities in budget allocations for months. According to the whistleblower, Arden stumbled onto reserved financial channels that were never disclosed in official reports. These channels reportedly benefited a closed circle of executives who now appear central to the current controversy. As these revelations spread, tension within the corporate tower has escalated to unprecedented levels. Security teams have increased surveillance around executive offices, and rumors suggest a major internal audit has been quietly launched to prevent further leaks. But many employees believe the audit is not meant to uncover the truth, only to contain it. Meanwhile, the public has begun to take notice. Media outlets that initially reported Arden's firing as a standard corporate dismissal are now probing deeper. Questions are being raised about the company's governance, transparency, and the possibility of corruption at the highest levels. A narrative of wrongful termination has evolved into a potential scandal of corporate malpractice. Colleagues who previously remained silent are stepping forward to defend Arden's reputation. They recall his sharp intuition, his unwillingness to overlook inconsistencies, and his dedication to ethical standards. One senior staff member stated, "If he found something dangerous, they would have seen him as a threat, not an employee." Amid the chaos, one thing has become clear. Arden's forced exit was only the beginning. The truth he may have uncovered appears to be unraveling the corporation from within. And although Arden is no longer inside the building, the shadows he left behind are now exposing the cracks in a system built on secrecy, and possibly setting the stage for a corporate war no one saw coming. Panic continued to ripple through the corporation as whispers of corruption spread far beyond the walls of the executive suite. But while the company scrambled to contain the fallout, a new development emerged, one that could shift the balance of power entirely. Several former employees who left under suspicious circumstances have quietly begun reaching out to one another, forming what insiders now refer to as the alliance in the shadows. These individuals, many once silenced or pushed aside like Arden, reportedly possess their own archives of questionable internal documents, emails, reports, financial logs, and whistleblower drafts that were never made public. Their sudden reappearance has intensified concern that the company is facing not just a disgruntled ex-employee, but a coordinated uprising. Sources connected to this group reveal that Arden has become a silent symbol of their resistance. Although he has not spoken publicly, members claim he inspired them by refusing to accept his termination as the end. "What they did to him reminded us of what they did to all of us," said one former project manager. "This time, we're not hiding." Internal memos show that the executive board held an emergency late-night meeting after learning of this growing coalition. Security protocols were tightened, internal communication channels were restricted, and employees received instructions to report any unusual contact from former staff. The company's response, however, has only fueled speculation that those at the top fear what might come next. Meanwhile, employees still inside the company have begun discreetly aligning themselves with the emerging movement. Some are quietly gathering documentation, others offering first-hand accounts of intimidation tactics and concealed financial operations. The growing number of insiders willing to cooperate suggests the corporation's internal loyalty is fracturing faster than expected. Analysts monitoring the situation warn that the formation of such an alliance significantly alters the stakes. Unlike past incidents, where isolated whistleblowers could be discredited or silenced, this coalition spans departments, years, and multiple leadership changes. It paints a picture of long-term systemic abuse, one that may finally be nearing exposure. Rumors also suggest that members of the alliance have identified a central figure within the executive ranks who may have orchestrated both Arden's firing and the data manipulation uncovered by IT forensics. While no names have been confirmed, the idea of a single mastermind has electrified the corporate community, raising the tension between suspicion and paranoia. Amid the rising chaos, the corporation's public relations team issued a rare late-night statement claiming all allegations were unsubstantiated and based on misinterpretations of standard procedures. The statement, however, was quickly met with skepticism, as it failed to address the revelations brought forward in recent leaks. Instead of calming the situation, the vague language only intensified public curiosity. Journalists have now begun digging into older cases involving abrupt resignations and terminated contracts. Patterns are emerging. Patterns that mirror Arden's experience. Sudden shifts in performance reviews, unexplained demotions, reassignments minutes before project launches, and the disappearance of key documents. Each new finding strengthens the alliance's claims and corners the corporation further. As dawn breaks over the corporate skyline, one truth is unavoidable. The company is losing control of the narrative. What started as a calculated effort to silence Arden has instead ignited the largest coordinated exposure effort the corporation has ever faced. With former employees uniting, internal staff rebelling, and the media circling, the storm that Arden unintentionally unleashed is only beginning to intensify, and the company may soon face the reckoning it fought so hard to avoid. The corporation's crisis deepened overnight as reports surfaced that confidential internal systems had been breached, not by outsiders, but by individuals believed to be part of the growing alliance supporting Arden. What began as scattered leaks has transformed into a full-scale infiltration, exposing hidden documents executives never expected to see the light of day. Unnamed insiders confirmed that several encrypted folders within the company's restricted servers were quietly accessed and copied. These folders allegedly contained financial authorizations, altered project timelines, and communication records tying top executives to suspicious decisions made months before Arden's termination. The contents, though not yet publicly released, are described as the kind of data that could collapse an entire board. Forensic analysts brought in to investigate the intrusion admitted they were blindsided. The infiltrators moved with surprising precision, bypassing layered security protocols that even seasoned IT veterans considered nearly impenetrable. Their movements were so controlled that analysts believe the breach was executed by individuals with intimate knowledge of the system's architecture, likely current or former employees who once built or maintained it. Internal messages captured from the executive chat logs reveal escalating panic. One senior executive wrote, "We've lost control. Someone knows our structure inside out." Another replied with a warning, "If the Arden files leak, it won't stop there." The tone of these messages suggests an awareness that the incoming storm is far larger than a wrongful termination dispute. In an aggressive attempt to regain control, the corporation initiated a silent lockdown across multiple departments. Access badges were restricted, email accounts temporarily frozen, and employees from IT, finance, and legal were instructed to remain in their offices until cleared. Yet, despite these measures, new leaks continue to emerge, suggesting that the alliance anticipated the company's countermeasures long before they were deployed. Rumors from within the building indicate that the infiltration was not simply about exposing corruption. It was a strategic reclamation. Members of the alliance reportedly reassembled missing fragments of Arden's deleted work, piecing together documents the executives believed were erased forever. These recovered files allegedly provide a roadmap to the financial irregularities Arden had been investigating before his firing. An anonymous staff member revealed that one of the most disturbing discoveries was a series of internal memos showing coordinated efforts to undermine Arden's credibility. These memos outline tactics including altered reports, manipulated data, and selective leaks designed to discredit him. The fact that such plans were written down, even in coded form, has sent shockwaves throughout the company. As investigators dig deeper, suspicion has begun to concentrate on a powerful executive whose influence spans nearly every division. The atmosphere inside the corporation shifted from panic to full-blown chaos as the fallout from the infiltration spread across every department. Executives long believed to be untouchable now found their names appearing in leaked documents circulating quietly among employees. These documents, though not yet released to the public, detail financial misconduct, manipulation of performance reviews, and coordinated efforts to bury internal complaints, confirming suspicions many had carried for years. Witnesses report that several senior leaders abruptly cleared their offices late last night. Security footage allegedly shows two executives leaving with boxes of personal belongings, accompanied by escorts typically assigned only to high-risk incidents. Their departures were neither announced nor explained, fueling rumors that resignations, or forced removals, are already unfolding behind closed doors. Internal compliance teams, once loyal to upper management, appear to have fractured under the pressure. A source close to the team revealed that some members refused to participate in what they described as a last-minute cover-up operation. Instead, they began forwarding key documents to regulatory authorities at the national level, bypassing corporate leadership entirely. The company's secret walls are collapsing from within. Meanwhile, shareholders have initiated an emergency inquiry, demanding immediate access to internal records related to Arden's termination and the financial channels he was allegedly investigating. Their pressure has forced the board into a defensive posture, scrambling to craft explanations that no longer match the facts emerging from the leaks. One board member was overheard saying, "We are past the point of controlling the damage." Employees working on the executive floor described the environment as a battlefield of whispered accusations. Former allies have turned on one another, each blaming internal rivals for the infiltration. Several executives have reportedly hired private legal counsel, anticipating investigations that could reach criminal levels. The fear is palpable. Those who once held power are now scrambling to protect themselves from the very organization they once ruled. The media, sensing blood in the water, has intensified its coverage. National outlets have begun publishing exposés linking the company to years of questionable transactions and employee mistreatment. For the first time, the corporation's name is trending globally. Not for innovation or success, but for scandal, corruption, and systemic abuse. Public confidence is plummeting. Outside the company's gates, protesters have gathered, many of them former employees who claim they too were pushed out unjustly. They carry signs demanding transparency, justice, and accountability. Some hold printouts of Arden's leaked files, calling him the symbol of corporate victims nationwide. The movement is no longer internal. It has become a public reckoning. Regulators have now confirmed an official investigation, citing substantial indications of misconduct. Their presence has sent shockwaves through the building. Offices once occupied by powerful executives now sit dark, their doors sealed with compliance tags. The corporation's leadership is shrinking by the hour, as more individuals step away or disappear from view. Amid the turmoil, whispers continue to circulate about the architect, the shadowy executive believed to have masterminded Arden's takedown. While his identity remains unconfirmed, several leaked communications suggest he is losing allies rapidly. Some speculate he is preparing to flee the company entirely, while others believe he is plotting a final move to protect himself. As the corporation trembles under the weight of its own secrets, one truth is becoming undeniable. The era of untouchable power is ending. Arden's forced removal, once intended to silence him, has instead triggered the greatest internal collapse the company has ever faced. Now, with the foundation cracking and the world watching, the downfall of the old regime appears inevitable. The storm Arden sparked has turned into a total corporate implosion. As the corporation reels from resignations, investigations, and public outrage, a devastating new leak has shaken the company to its core. Late last night, an anonymous source released a cache of decrypted documents, files that directly identify the shadowy figure employees have whispered about for weeks: the architect. The mastermind behind Arden's downfall finally has a name, and the revelation has sent shockwaves through every level of the organization. The architect is revealed to be none other than Executive Director Rendra Mahadapa, a man long regarded as the company's strategic genius and a driving force behind its rapid expansion. The newly leaked evidence shows that Rendra orchestrated a network of manipulated reviews, hidden financial routes, and targeted removals of employees who threatened his agenda. Arden, it appears, was his most dangerous obstacle yet. According to the documents, Rendra had been monitoring Arden's investigations into financial irregularities for months. When Arden got too close to uncovering the unauthorized channels siphoning funds into off-the-record accounts, Rendra activated a covert plan to discredit him. Emails show orders to HR to rewrite performance reports and to IT to suspend audit trails that might expose the truth. One particularly damning memo, marked "Confidential Priority," details the exact day and method of Arden's termination. It lays out everything: the staged escort, the public humiliation, and even the scripted language HR was instructed to use. The intent was clear: destroy Arden's credibility before he could speak, ensuring that no one would believe what he discovered. The fallout was immediate. Employees flooded internal channels with messages of disbelief, anger, and betrayal. Many had admired Rendra, unaware of the machinery of fear and manipulation he had built behind the scenes. With his identity exposed, long-silenced voices began sharing stories of intimidation, forced resignations, and veiled threats. Rendra's empire of control is unraveling rapidly. In the early hours of the morning, security teams were dispatched to Rendra's office, only to find it empty. His laptop was gone, personal items cleared, and keycard deactivated minutes before investigators arrived. Rumors now suggest he fled the building just moments after the leak went public, potentially attempting to escape accountability before authorities could intervene. Regulatory officials have since issued a formal request for Rendra's detainment, citing high probability of evidence destruction and flight risk. Their statement confirms that the financial discrepancies Arden discovered may amount to large-scale corporate fraud, potentially spanning several years and involving millions in concealed transactions. Journalists have surrounded Rendra's known properties, awaiting any sign of his return. Reporters describe the atmosphere as a manhunt disguised as a corporate scandal, with drones circling overhead and law enforcement vehicles stationed along key entry routes. The disappearance of such a high-profile executive has intensified public interest, turning the case into a national spectacle. Amid the chaos, Arden's supporters released a message acknowledging the leaks and urging authorities to act swiftly. They thanked the alliance of insiders whose bravery exposed the truth, while emphasizing that the fight is not over until Rendra is found and the entire web of corruption is dismantled. Their statement ends with a chilling line: "Justice no longer hides in boardrooms, it walks in daylight now." As the corporation struggles to maintain operations amid the storm, one thing is clear: the unmasking of the architect has transformed a corporate scandal into a hunt for accountability at the highest level. The truth Arden discovered, once buried beneath layers of deception, has detonated at the heart of the company. And now, with the mastermind on the run, the stage is set for the final confrontation that will determine whether corporate justice will prevail or collapse under its own shadows. Panic is spreading inside the corporation as Arden's evidence continues to ripple through boardrooms, private channels, and confidential legal departments. What once seemed like a disposable employee fighting a losing battle has now transformed into a threat too large to ignore. Executives who once smirked during his firing are now holding emergency meetings behind soundproof doors as suspicion turns into fear. Insiders report that several senior managers have quietly begun consulting personal attorneys. The reason? Arden's latest data drop allegedly includes time-stamped emails that implicate multiple departments in the coordinated suppression of his achievements. Some managers, realizing their digital fingerprints are all over the manipulation, are preparing for the worst: resignations, investigations, or even prosecution. HR has fallen into a state of chaos. The department that once confidently escorted Arden out now finds itself under heavy scrutiny. An anonymous HR staffer revealed that internal pressure is becoming unbearable. "We were told to follow orders," the staffer confessed. "Now those same orders might cost us our careers." Documents that were once hidden with ease are now being demanded by lawyers and auditors. The board, usually distant and untouchable, has also entered crisis mode. Emergency late-night sessions have become the new routine as they struggle to understand how a terminated worker managed to infiltrate the company's deepest weaknesses. The board's primary fear is not only Arden's evidence, but who else might now feel emboldened to speak up. Arden himself has remained silent publicly, allowing the corporation's internal turmoil to expose itself. His silence, however, is not passive, it is strategic. Every hour the company spends scrambling is another hour his next move becomes sharper. Sources close to him claim he is preparing a final, devastating release that will force the corporation to confront the full weight of its wrongdoing. Witnesses inside the HQ describe the atmosphere as paranoid. Employees no longer trust each other. Conversations abruptly stop when someone walks by. Slack channels are being deleted. Side chats have become encrypted. Even the company cafeteria, once bustling and loud, has fallen quiet as workers fear that a single wrong word could drag them into the unfolding disaster. The executives leading the conspiracy have grown increasingly desperate. One attempted to place blame on a mid-level employee, but the attempt failed when metadata proved the deception. Another reportedly tried to wipe an entire server section, only to be stopped by IT security who flagged the suspicious activity. Every failed cover-up only deepens the corporation's guilt. As the pressure mounts, whistleblowers are beginning to emerge from unexpected corners. Anonymous tips are being sent to journalists and regulators, hinting that Arden's case is only the beginning. Some claim the corporation has a long history of burying inconvenient employees. Arden's battle may have awakened years of suppressed injustice waiting to surface. Meanwhile, external observers, law firms, labor groups, and rival companies have started watching closely. They understand what the corporation does not want to admit. This situation is slipping beyond internal control. If Arden unleashes the final piece of evidence he is rumored to possess, the corporation might face a collapse far greater than a PR scandal. Yet the most dramatic twist comes from within the company itself. In a stunning overnight development, the corporation was thrown into complete disarray after Arden executed what insiders are calling the strike that broke the dam. At precisely 2:14 a.m., a massive encrypted dossier, containing the full timeline of the conspiracy against him, was anonymously leaked to regulators, journalists, and key industry watchdogs. The fallout began instantly, sending shockwaves through the corporate world. Within hours, the leaked files spread across secure networks, revealing internal emails, directive sheets, and altered performance logs that implicated several top executives in a systematic effort to sabotage Arden's career. The documents detailed every manipulation, the deleted achievements, the forged complaints, and the coordinated smear campaigns that HR attempted to bury. For many, this was the confirmation they had feared, and for others, the justice they desperately hoped would surface. The corporation awakened to chaos. Employees arriving at the headquarters were greeted by a swarm of reporters, security barriers, and a legal blockade preventing unauthorized personnel from entering the building. The once polished corporate lobby became a battlefield of flashing cameras and frantic PR staff, who could no longer spin the disaster unfolding around them. Sources inside the crisis command room described the scene as a meltdown. Executives shouted over one another, accusations flew like bullets, and one senior leader allegedly collapsed under the stress. Another was seen leaving the building in tears after discovering their name listed in the leaked evidence. The chain of command, once confident and ruthless, had fractured beyond repair. Regulators wasted no time. By mid-morning, official investigation notices were delivered directly to the company's legal department. The documents demanded immediate access to servers, employee testimony, and financial records spanning the last 5 years. This unexpected breadth shocked even the most informed insiders, signaling that Arden's case may trigger a full-scale corporate excavation. Arden, meanwhile, remained unreachable. His silence carried more power than any statement. Observers believe he is allowing the corporation's own guilt to devour itself from the inside. Some speculate that he anticipated every corporate reaction, and that this was merely phase 1 of his long-planned counterstrike. Those who once dismissed him as powerless now whisper his name in awe and fear. The emergence of new whistleblowers further destabilized the corporation. Several employees, emboldened by Arden's revelations, submitted sworn statements outlining additional abuses hidden beneath layers of bureaucracy. These testimonies hinted that Arden's case was only the tip of a far larger iceberg, one that could threaten the company's entire leadership structure. As panic spread, internal factions formed among the executives. Some demanded immediate resignations to limit damage, while others insisted on fighting the allegations, blaming hackers or rogue employees. But leaked audio from inside the boardroom revealed a chilling truth. None of them could offer a consistent defense, because the evidence against them was overwhelming. Outside the building, former employees gathered in solidarity, holding signs praising Arden's courage. Many shared their own stories of injustice, turning the corporate headquarters into a stage for suppressed voices. Media outlets captured every moment, framing Arden not as a disgruntled worker, but as the unlikely catalyst of a corporate reckoning years in the making. By late evening, the corporation issued a brief, trembling statement acknowledging the leak and promising full cooperation. But experts agree this move came too late. The world has already seen the cracks, the lies, the corruption. And somewhere out there, Arden watches the empire that betrayed him crumble under the weight of its own sins, knowing that the endgame of corporate justice is finally within reach. The corporation entered its darkest hour as the full weight of Arden's counterstrike settled over the building like a storm that refused to pass. What began as a leak has now become a corporate implosion, with authorities swarming the headquarters and senior leaders forced into humiliating interrogations. The company once known for its polished image is now fighting for its very survival. In a move that stunned the industry, 3 top executives abruptly resigned before sunrise, submitting handwritten letters that sources say were filled with panic, self-justification, and thinly veiled blame toward one another. Their sudden exit, however, only fueled speculation that deeper crimes may be hidden beneath the surface. Far worse than the sabotage inflicted on Arden. Auditors uncovered what many feared. Entire sections of the company's digital archives had been manipulated for years. These tampered documents suggest a long-running pattern of data distortion, project theft, and targeted character assassinations. Arden was not the first victim. He was merely the first who refused to disappear quietly. Tension mounted as investigators seized servers and employee devices, prompting a wave of panic among mid-level managers who had once obediently carried out unethical orders. Some attempted to delete files in desperation, unaware their actions were being monitored in real time. These frantic attempts only added more charges to the growing list of corporate misconduct. Reporters surrounding the building captured footage of executives being escorted out by investigators, their faces drained of power and color. Once untouchable titans of industry, they now avoided cameras and bowed their heads like criminals. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. The empire was collapsing, and the architects of Arden's downfall were finally paying the price. Meanwhile, a confidential memo leaked to the press revealed that the board was considering a full shutdown of several divisions to contain financial damage. Stock values plummeted at record speed, wiping out millions in minutes. Investors who had once ignored Arden's firing now demanded accountability from the very leaders who dismissed him so easily. Inside the corporation, morale reached a breaking point. Employees who had lived in fear of retaliation began openly criticizing former leaders. Hallways once filled with nervous silence now echoed with conversations about justice, reform, and the courage Arden showed by standing alone against a corrupt hierarchy. A dramatic shift occurred when the company's longtime legal advisor unexpectedly switched sides, offering to cooperate with investigators in exchange for immunity. This move sent shockwaves through the remaining leadership, as the advisor possessed detailed knowledge of internal strategies, backroom deals, and the deliberate takedown of Arden. His cooperation marked the point of no return. While chaos engulfed the corporation, Arden remained an elusive figure. Friends describe him as calm, reflective, and resolute, aware that the battle is reaching its final stage. His name has become a symbol of resistance, justice, and the power of one voice challenging an entire system. Yet he has made no public appearance, leaving the world wondering what his final move will be. As dawn broke over the shaken metropolis, the corporation faced a new wave of backlash. Not from regulators this time, but from the public itself. Overnight, Arden's story became a nationwide symbol of resistance, dominating social media trends, televised debates, and grassroots movements demanding justice. Crowds gathered outside the headquarters, turning the once prestigious building into a monument of corporate downfall. Protesters arrived with banners quoting Arden's leaked emails, chanting for accountability and celebrating his courage. Former employees joined, sharing their own stories of being silenced or discarded. What began as an isolated act of corporate cruelty had ignited a collective uprising, uniting thousands in a demand for transparency and reform. The corporation's PR team, already collapsing, struggled to respond. In a rare public appearance, a spokesperson attempted to calm the uproar with a shaky statement promising full cooperation and internal restructuring. But the speech only enraged the crowd further as they interpreted it as nothing more than corporate jargon masking guilt. The spokesperson was forced to retreat under heavy security, leaving behind a sea of boos and microphones. Inside the building, the remaining executives scrambled to assemble a survival strategy. Their desperation became apparent when they proposed offering compensation packages and public apologies. But regulators immediately blocked these actions, suspecting they were thinly disguised attempts to influence ongoing investigations. Every move the corporation made now seemed to tighten the noose around its own neck. The turning point came when investigators released a preliminary report to the public. The findings confirmed what many feared. Arden's firing was the result of a calculated conspiracy involving multiple high-ranking leaders. The report described the corporate culture as toxic, predatory, and structured around suppressing dissent. It was a damning blow that reverberated through every corner of the business world. News agencies broadcast the report live, drawing millions of viewers. Analysts compared the scandal to historical corporate collapses, calling it a textbook example of arrogance meeting consequences. Investors abandoned the corporation in droves, and its stock value plunged so deeply that financial experts predicted an irreversible collapse unless immediate drastic actions were taken. Amid the chaos, a surprising development emerged. Several employees secretly contacted Arden, offering their support and requesting to testify on his behalf. These individuals, once fearful of retaliation, were now emboldened by the public's outcry. Their testimonies could become the decisive force that seals the corporation's fate in the upcoming trial. Meanwhile, whispers spread that the board, cornered and humiliated, was considering dissolving the entire leadership structure. This drastic possibility underscored just how catastrophic Arden's counterstrike had become. The empire that had mocked, mistreated, and tossed him aside now found itself begging for survival while the world watched. Arden, still silent, was seen briefly leaving a confidential meeting with legal representatives. Though he offered no comments, his expression conveyed a quiet resolve. Observers noted that he did not appear triumphant, only determined. It was as if he understood that this battle was no longer about him alone, but about every employee who had ever been crushed by corporate abuse. By nightfall, one truth had crystallized across media outlets, justice groups, and public discussions. The people had chosen their verdict long before the courts would. They stood with Arden. They demanded justice. And they would not rest until the corporation that tried to destroy him answered for every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal. The stage was set for the final reckoning, and the world prepared for the endgame of corporate justice. The long-awaited trial began under an atmosphere thick with tension, drawing unprecedented public attention. Crowds filled the sidewalks outside the courthouse, chanting Arden's name as if he were a national hero. Media vans lined the entire district, broadcasting live coverage of the proceedings. This was no longer just a corporate case. This was a test of justice itself. Inside the courtroom, the corporation's legal team appeared visibly shaken. Their once impenetrable confidence had evaporated. The weight of public scrutiny, internal betrayal, and leaked evidence hung over them like a storm cloud threatening to burst. Meanwhile, Arden sat quietly at his table, calm but unyielding, exuding a strength that contrasted sharply with the frantic energy on the opposing side. The prosecution wasted no time presenting the first wave of evidence. Screens lit up with documents detailing forged complaints, tampered performance reviews, and internal messages ordering Arden's erasure from company records. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge paused, visibly stunned by the extent of the corruption exposed. Witnesses took the stand next, one after another, each testimony striking like lightning. Former HR staff confessed to being pressured into falsifying reports. IT workers described late-night orders to scrub files. Managers admitted they were instructed to sabotage Arden's career because he posed a threat to powerful executives. With each confession, the corporation's foundation crumbled further. The defense attempted to shift blame onto rogue employees, but their strategy fell apart when a whistleblower revealed recorded conversations between senior executives openly discussing how to neutralize Arden. The recording, played in the silent courtroom, became the defining moment of the trial. Every word, dripping with arrogance, echoed like a confession carved in stone. As the evidence mounted, the corporation's representatives began turning on each other. Some tried to distance themselves from the scandal. Others blamed their superiors. One executive broke down in tears on the stand, confessing that he had acted out of fear of retaliation. Their unity, once the source of their power, had shattered into pieces. The prosecution then presented the leaked dossier in full, detailing Arden's achievements, projects, and leadership. Every accomplishment the corporation tried to erase. The contrast between his genuine contributions and their ruthless actions painted a damning picture. Arden had been a rising star, until the company decided he was inconvenient. For the first time, Arden rose to give a statement. He did not speak with anger or vengeance, but with clarity and purpose. He described the humiliation of being escorted out like a criminal, the pain of betrayal, and the strength it took to fight back. His words resonated deeply, leaving the courtroom in heavy silence. Even some jurors appeared emotionally shaken.